everyone, this is Riddle Hugger AJ Raven, and welcome to the latest Geekiary News Briefs, where we'll quickly go over some of the things that happened in geek and pop culture so that you have stuff on your radar. So, because of the Oscars 2020 ceremony, this video is going to be very Oscar-centric. However, I'm going to begin by going over the most recent box office results, and I have them open in front of me from Box Office Mojo, and Birds of Prey from Warner Bros. Ended up being the major wide release for this week, and even then, it was the major widest released, a new movie, and even then people decided not to go and watch it. And Birds of Prey ended up giving us the lowest opening for the DCEU franchise, and I have already written more than 1,000 words about this entire situation, about why I think that this movie didn't work. Basically, I think that Margot Robbie ended up handling Birds of Prey as a vanity project for her own character. She wanted to promote Harley in order to stand next to Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, and I'm like, Margot, I need you to realize that even though Harley has a whole lot of fans around the world, Harley as a character, she's not a leader, she's not a mentor, she's supposed to be a follower. And one of the best moments that happened in Harley comics is whenever she's interacting with other big names such as Superman, Batman, Batgirl, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman. However, Margot Robbie, I don't know, maybe it was because of her ego or whatnot, but she ended up encroaching on the Birds of Prey brand, and she ended up disrespecting Cassandra Cain as a character. It was bad. Again, I wrote an entire article, and basically, I'm okay with it flopping. It ended up having a reported production budget of around 85 to 90 million, and apparently it needs to cross the 300 million worldwide gross line in order to produce some sort of profit for the studio. So let's see what happens. Maybe it will hold with Valentine's Day coming up and Galentine's Day coming up. But anyway, I wrote an entire article about it. Make sure to read it. I even went over the blatant queer baiting this movie did during the promotional tour, and also, even though Harley and Renee Montoya are supposed to be queer characters in canon from the comic books, this film ended up featuring very poorly written queer representation. Maybe that's why it flopped as well, but you know what, moving on. So then we have Bad Boys for Life. It's doing well, and also interestingly, Knives Out is still in the top 10, and it's now it's been more than 2 or 3 months. I think this movie came out back during Thanksgiving. It's also available in digital, and even still people are going to theaters to watch it. Lionsgate has already greenlit a sequel, and apparently it's going to feature an entirely new cast with Daniel Craig being the detective again, and fingers crossed Ryan Johnson ends up casting Halle Berry in the role. Halle Berry ended up doing John Wick 3 for Lionsgate, so there's history there. Maybe she'll be part of the movie. I really hope so that she is. Now that was that for the box office. Let's come to next week Sonic the Hedgehog is releasing, so let's see how that does. Anyway, let's move on to the Oscars. The 2020 ceremony, it was full of surprises, not big surprises, but very welcome surprises as far as my opinion goes. I have the entire list in front of me. Again, there was no host. There were a whole lot of celebrities that came up on stage. There was Selma Hayek, Oscar Isaac, Chris Rock, and Steve Martin. It was fun. Now, Parasite ended up winning Best Picture, and you know what? I wasn't expecting it at all. I really wanted Parasite to win Best Picture, but after it got the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film, I was like, you know what? Maybe the Academy won't be giving it Best Picture, but it did, so good for you. It gives me hope that the Academy is changing for the better, that the Academy doesn't feel comfortable awarding the same type of movies every year, because there was a whole lot of talk about 1917 winning Best Picture, or maybe even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I'm really glad that Parasite won. And being a South Korean film, it ended up it ended up not breaking per se, but it ended up creating a whole lot of records for being the first South Korean film to get so much recognition at the Oscars. So good. And talking about Best Picture, Bong Joon-ho ended up getting the Oscar for Best Director for Parasite as well, so good for him. Best Actor ended up going to Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, which, I mean, it was expected. Regardless of what your opinion for the Joker is, like, you can't deny that Joaquin Phoenix ended up giving an entirely impressive performance as the Joker. Like, even looking at that trailer, he was very chilling. So yeah, he won. Good for him. He's been nominated twice before. Best Actress ended up going to Renee Zellweger for her role as Judy in the Judy Garland film, and it was expected. I think it really came down to between Renee Zellweger and Scarlett Johansson, but Renee won. I think it was because the role was something that was very appealing to the Oscar voting panel, and also because Scarlett Johansson has been making a whole lot of controversial opinions, and she's been sharing a whole lot of controversial comments. So I think that played a role in her not getting an Oscar. But you know what, Scarlett Johansson, if you're watching this, I'm still rooting for you. Your time will come. Asian representation is very important. POC representation is very important. So I can't wait for you to play Nani, Lilo, Stitch, or even Peakley in the upcoming Disney live-action Lilo and Stitch movie. So yeah, you'll get your Oscar soon. Best Supporting Actor went to Brad Pitt, which, yeah, okay. I actually thought it was going to go to Tom Hanks, but okay. Best Supporting Actress, of course, went to Laura Dern. She's been nominated, I think, 3 times before, and she finally won an Oscar, so good for her. Best Original Screenplay, again, Parasite, okay. Best Adapted Screenplay went to Taika Waititi for Jojo Rabbit, even though I wasn't a fan of Jojo Rabbit. I'm happy for Taika. Especially because, correct me if I'm wrong, Taika is the first indigenous person to win an Oscar. So I guess Thor 3 is going to be directed by an Oscar winner. Best Animated Feature ended up going to Toy Story 4. However, I do think that it should have gone to Klaus, because even though I enjoyed Toy Story 4, it was quite boring in hindsight. Klaus was more enjoyable. And also, I mean, fingers crossed with the Academy recognizing Parasite as an amazing film, Best Picture, Best Director, and whatnot. I really hope that the Academy starts recognizing amazing animated films as well, especially foreign animated films, because we all know that Your Name, and then Weathering with You, those 2 animated movies really deserved an Oscar. It was very, very disappointing that the Academy decided to snub them. Best Animated Short went to Hair Love, and I loved watching Hair Love, so I'm very happy for the team involved. Best Original Score went to Joker. Then we have Best Original Song went to I'm Gonna Love Me Again by Elton John, which again, I think it was obvious because it's Elton John. So that's Elton's, I think, 2nd Oscar after he won an Oscar for singing Can You Feel the Love Tonight in the Lion King animated film, I think 25 years ago. Yeah, these were the major, Best Visual Effects ended up going to 1917, even though Avengers Endgame was full of CGI, and even Lion King was all CGI, but yeah, what can you do? So apparently, of course, I mean, it was very obvious that people weren't happy about Oscars being very white, like, especially in the acting categories. But in the end, I think the Academy came through, and especially after it awarded Parasite so much. And I mean, South Korean representation is important as well. I also did a review of the red carpet looks, so if you want to check that out, the link is on the video is in the YouTube channel, so you can find it. I'll place the link in the comment section below as well. So that was that for the Hollywood stuff. And then coming over to celebrity stuff, Jameela Jamil ended up in hot water, you can say, over on Twitter. So turns out that HBO Max is working on, I think they're currently shooting already, but yeah, they're working on a new show by the name Legendary, and it's supposed to be a ballroom voguing centric competition, which, okay, it's all good. More representation to the ballroom culture is good for the mainstream, especially after how phenomenal Pose was on FX. But the weird thing is that it was announced that Jameela Jamil is going to be one of the main judges on the show. And then Deadline ended up wrongly reporting that Jameela Jamil is also going to be MC for the show. And of course, if you guys don't know, Jameela Jamil has nothing to do with the ballroom culture. So people who were ballroom centric or who knew about ballroom, they immediately went online and they asked why Jameela Jamil was being featured in the show in such positions, especially when she doesn't have a ballroom past. Why isn't anyone who is part of ballroom being made the MC for the upcoming show, or the main, or the head judge? So Jameela Jamil ended up taking to Twitter and she said that she's not going to be the MC, however she is going to be the main judge on the show. And again, the entire argument started. Even Trace Lysette piped in. More people piped, voiced their opinions as well, and they were like, why is Jameela even part of this show? Why is she the main judge? What the heck is she going to judge when she doesn't know anything about ballroom? So Jameela Jamil ended up again coming to Twitter, and apparently she decided to come out as queer, which, I mean, as far as my opinion goes, which, good for you, Jameela, that you're queer. But again, you being queer doesn't automatically make you an authority on ballroom culture, because ballroom culture and voguing culture is a subculture in the entire LGBTQIA plus community, or the entire umbrella term. It's a subculture. You being queer doesn't necessarily or automatically make you part of ballroom culture. Ballroom culture has a very long history that spans decades, and it involves black people, especially people, black and Latinx people, and especially trans people of color. So you can't necessarily say that you are into ballroom or that you have experience in ballroom just because you're queer, even though you don't have any connections to ballroom. And yeah, I ended up writing an entire article about it. If you want to check that out, the link to that will be down in the comment section below. But also, Jameela Jamil conveniently left out that she's also the executive producer of this show. The rest of the creators of this show, or the producers per se, are the same people who ended up creating Queer Eye, and apparently they don't have any connection to the ballroom culture as well, which, you know what, it's an entire mess. Let's see what happens when this show is finally released on HBO Max. Final story that I have, yeah, it was a slow week, especially because a whole lot of focus was on Oscars and all of that. So apparently Selena Gomez is coming out with her own beauty brand line, and it's called Rare Beauty. And she's another example of certain celebrities trying to make, I guess, quick money by entering the billion-dollar beauty industry. And I'm tired. I'm also very disappointed that some people immediately fall for such scams, because let's face it, I'm not saying that every celebrity who ends up entering the beauty brand line is a scammer. I'm not saying that. However, most often than not, a whole lot of them are scams. It's like, it's just another way for these celebrities to make more money by releasing subpar quality materials and whatnot. I guess a whole lot of these singers and actors ended up seeing how successful Rihanna is for Fenty Beauty, and I guess they want to jump on the bandwagon. Just recently, we had Lady Gaga, we had Kesha, now we have Selena Gomez for some reason. Now Lady Gaga and Kesha, I can kind of understand their link to makeup because they are known for really out there looks. However, Selena Gomez being part of the beauty industry, I'm not really sure. But you know what? Let's see what happens when Rare Beauty comes out. Let's see how interested she is in makeup. Maybe she thought that maybe her singing career isn't going so well, so she's like branching out into other avenues, which, I mean, good for you, girl. It's always good to figure out new ways to make money, I guess. That's that for the latest Geekiary News Briefs. Let me know what you thought of the stories that I've shared with you. What did you think of the Oscars 2020 ceremony? Did you think that, did your faves win? Did you want someone else to win? Let me know. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you guys later.